I saw some things this week and it involves, and I don't even want to get into political stuff, but I feel like what's going on in the world, we have to talk about it, right? When you have a platform, you want to talk about what's going on in pop culture and the world and everything. So I saw a few things this week about women in on the Republican Party, right? How they're all like the Donald Trump era women,
Okay.
okay, so to speak. And good for them. I'm starting to actually like some things that he says, starting to understand where he's coming from. But that extreme right side kind of always tells you how to live, right? They're
Yeah.
very religious. They tell you how you should live your life. Oh, you're not married, you don't have kids, you're not living the right way. You know what I mean? Right.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So there's four Republican women who are very high up on in Trump's inner circle. Lauren Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Pam Bondi, and Kristi Noem. All right. Pam Bondi hasn't been married. She got divorced, hasn't been married in like 10 years, 15 years. Lauren Boebert's divorced. Marjorie Taylor Greene's divorced. Kristi Noem got caught having an affair with somebody from the Trump campaign. But then these women tell us how we should live our lives. Is this
Well,
not insane?
hold on now. Let's call a spade a spade. You remember how just like when Paulie says this life of ours doesn't lend itself to being married and having a spouse.
Oh, no offense, but ask me, marriage and I think don't jive.
I think it's the same thing for when you're at the top in politics. I think it's the same way. You are constantly on 24/7. You don't really have time for your marriage fails. You can't start a new relationship, et cetera, et cetera. You don't really have time for those things when you're sinking 60, 70 hours a week into your work. So I hear you.
You make a great point here. I'm listening to what you're saying.
The pot can't be calling the kettle black. That's where you're coming from. I get that. And that's still part of it for sure. You don't want to be a hypocrite regardless. I think that it's like sometimes you ever tell your kids like do as I say, not as I do. I think it's that kind of a thing sometimes. Now, to be fair, that might not be okay 100% of the time when you're in politics and people are supposed to be following you and listening to you. But I think it's a little bit of that where it's the job. You know what I mean? And
it is. I hear what you're saying. It's there. She's representing, right, a party who believes in certain things. But again, isn't that where you're sitting there and you're like, oh, this is gaslighting? Or,
right. It can be both things for sure. Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, listen, do what you want, but don't sit there and tell me like, oh, you guys should be living this way and that way. And honey, you can't even keep a man. You're telling us how to live, but you can't even keep a man. And then this other broad, Nancy Mace from South Carolina. Okay. She's obsessed. I would consider her far right. Maybe she's not, but I would consider her far right. She's obsessed with transgender culture and all that stuff. And you know what? People have very strong views on it, and everybody has the right to have those views. All right. I got to tell you something. When I look at this woman, I kind of feel like she's one of these people who is transgender and is so self-loathing. Mass, have you seen this woman? Do me a favor. If you can, bring up a picture of Caitlyn Jenner.
Yeah.
Am I wrong, or do these two women have very similar qualities?
Yeah.
And I think I see an Adam's apple there.
Again, this goes back to what we were just saying about the pot calling the kettle black. I realize that you aren't exposed to certain things. I realize you might not have the expertise, but oftentimes people don't get involved in something until it happens to them, right? Like you're not donating to the Cancer Society until somebody in your family gets cancer. You're not conscious of transgender rights until you've changed sides. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's a little bit hypocrite or a little bit just, this wasn't in my world until now, and now I care about it. Now I'm focused on it. Now I want to do something about it. But that's such a dicey subject, especially in a political role. You know what I mean?
No, I agree. But so I feel like some of these people sometimes in these, when they become advocates, right? Sometimes it's because they're actually the person they're advocating for.
Right.
Right. And they've been in the closet or shut in for so long. Right. And they don't want to come out. They don't want to express their feelings who they really are. But that's their way of being kind of self-deprecating, right? They're
getting their point across.
Yes, they say, you know what, these transgender, these gays, whatever, oh, you know what, they're assholes, they're this. Meanwhile, the person saying that is gay all the time or transgender all the time.